All right, I think we are ready to start. Are you guys ready to start?
Yeah.
I think so. I
Oh,
think
Probably were, but we're not present though, so I don't
we
know.
are. Yeah, I was gonna say
something
we're not.
happened here. Hmm,
We are.
interesting. Well, let me do a quick little hot fix. Let me go pop in here to studio mode. I do not know what happened in the time that we started, but let me go there. I will make a quick fix while I do the intro. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a show for gamers on a budget. I am your host, Danny K. With me, as always, Mr. Green Elite. How are you doing, Mr. Green Elite?
I am doing fantastic. I've gone out of the house maybe twice in the last week and a half, and I saw the sun today. Like, I saw outside.
You, dude.
What
I
is that?
saw outside.
What does that word mean?
I know it's a weird concept to think about. I
Yeah,
saw it.
I
It's real.
yeah, it is a very strange concept right now.
It destroys my
In
entire universe.
right. With me, as always, my other co-host, Revspen.
That'd be me.
Yeah, that would be you.
Hi.
How you doing?
How you doing? I'm doing well, buddy. I grilled up some burgers like right before this started, so I'm like fat and full, which I was like half of that before, but it's all fine.
um, man, I had a really disappointing dinner, but we'll save that for later. We'll save that for later. With us this week, a three-time guest. We haven't had him on in a little while. Matt Nemeth from Entertainment Talks or Entertainment Talk UK. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back on the show. We've had a couple of little technical difficulties in that, but we're all good to go now. Happy to talk about some games today, some stuff that has impressed me and some stuff that just didn't make me feel anything, but I'll explain that here shortly.
Yes. And well, we appreciate you. For anyone who couldn't tell by the accent, you are not you are not here in the United States with us, which means you are. It's almost what 2 a.m. there. We're getting at 2 a.m. in your time zone.
1:15, yeah, so at the
Yes.
moment.
So I appreciate you staying up and joining us for the show here. For those who don't know what you do, Matt, tell the kind folks out there what you do and where people can find it.
Happy to do so. Yeah, I run Entertainment Talk, which is entertainmenttalk.org. We're just coming towards the end of a little bit of a busy season. We had Better Call Saul, Walking Dead, and Westworld all on at the same time. And we also do video game stuff. There's been obviously some PlayStation, Xbox stuff recently, and also do, well, not quite so much at the moment because the cinema isn't open, but review films and things like that as well. But there's been lots to cover recently. And yeah, tomorrow we've got our finale podcast for Westworld, the end of season 3. So yeah, it's been really good so far. Of course, it's going to be a bit different later on in the year because some things aren't in development or filming at the moment. But yeah, it's been good to do all that lately.
Excellent. And people can find that at entertainmenttalk.org, you said, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
And then if I have your Twitter correct, it's at etalkuk.
that's also correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So that is on the screen for anyone who's watching live or watching on YouTube. That's on the screen, and links will always be in the description of the episode on podcast platforms. Before we get into the meat of the show, though, one thing we do need to get out of the way. We are still sponsoring SWA Motorsports racer Dead Shattern as he hits the track in the Outsider Racing League. Watch him rep the NTN logo Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sim TV. That's SYM_TV on YouTube. Channel links are in the description of this episode. And of course, if you guys are new to the show, welcome. If you like what we do, we hope you guys will follow us here on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, and maybe even tell your friends. Rev, we're going to start with you this week, as we so often do, because you have another game that you've played. Yeah, so I'm going to let you take it from here.
I'll give you one chance to guess what kind of game this was. Oh, God, I thought I had you tricked. Yes, it is. It's
Hey,
a
I thought it was going to be an FPS shooter, but that's just me.
I do that off stream. That's no, but no. I got to test out a game called Unformed this week. It is a new, very very new indie platformer that is technically in early access. It's been likened to it's like a Souls like because it's super difficult and barrel rolling is your best friend. But it is a 2D. It's like actually like a 2D side scroller version of a Souls like, which in concept is great. And when this game is finished, I believe that it's going to be really good. But typically, when I get to try out a game that's in early access, it's at least like close to being done. And it's kind of you're just working out all the bugs. But this one, it felt like it was way, way too soon. It was very buggy. It was very glitchy. Some of the features weren't even enabled yet. It's like certain features would say coming soon. The whole thing kind of looked like an old Newgrounds game. There used to be like it's hard to describe if you haven't played it, but there used to be a Newgrounds fighting game where it had like everybody from like Laura Croft to Goku and all these other people. And the mechanics of that fighting game is how this game felt. A lot of barrel rolling, and half the time it would end up glitching out the barrel roll and getting me killed. I ended up only making it to the second boss before I ended up having to call it because it was just too much. Now, with that all being said, it's got a very interesting storyline that I won't go into, terms of spoiling, but it like the storyline was pretty decent. And like I said, once it's done, I'm sure it'll be good. But as it is right now, it was too early to put out even for early access. One of the major things. See, I've never played like a Dark Souls or Sekiro or any of those that are Souls like. Apparently, according to a lot of people that were watching, they were saying that there was a lot in it that was very, very derivative of Dark Souls. It wasn't just like a Souls like. The terminology was the same. A lot of the bosses and monsters all looked and moved and behaved and even were named similar to Dark Souls monsters and villains. And so a lot of people, and I don't want this to end up becoming what it is, but I started kind of getting the vibe from a lot of people that they felt that it was, instead of being a Souls like, it was a full blown ripoff, which is kind of a bummer. But all in all, I think once it's all said and done, it's going to be fine. But as of right now, they should not have released it so early.
Okay. So yeah, like we have this here and yeah, very much looks like a 2D Souls platformer. Kind of a fusion between the Soulsborne's games and the and 2D platformers. You were mentioning kind of glitches and lack of polish and stuff like that. What were some of like the big areas? Was it like input lag? Was there input latency? Was there other things like characters slipping through to places they shouldn't have been able to reach? Stuff like that. What were some of the issues you were having?
Luckily, input latency wasn't one of them, but it was a lot of your battle mechanics, like your ability to swing your sword. Some of the battle mechanics of what you were going against. There was one time where I was fighting this one beast, and a heavy attack always staggered it. Well, it was supposed to always stagger it, and half the time it wouldn't stagger it, and it would end up getting me killed because in a Souls-like game you have to be able to be precise because 3 hits and you're dead. And there would be certain tactics that you would have to go into a fight with, and you would end up getting part of the way through it, and one of those bugs would come into play. But the biggest ones I had were with the rolling dodge. You have obviously your stamina bar, where if you're out of stamina, you can't roll. On this, I would have issues where I wouldn't be able to roll even with full stamina, which would ultimately get me hit because it's the only way to dodge. So those were the two biggest ones, were the stun, or not really the stun, but the stagger mechanics of the whatever you were fighting, and the actual barrel roll mechanics, which that was the biggest frustrating part for me. Like I went back and watched my VOD, and I could tell it was visible how frustrated I was with it. There were some issues where I was jumping down from a ledge, and I got hit with a dart that wasn't supposed to kill me, it's just like a dart that from one of those little side monsters that just uses a little blowgun at you. It does a little bit of damage. But I was dropping down from this ledge, and it was a very, very shallow ledge. But for some reason, when that dart hit me and I finished the drop down from the ledge, it ended up killing me, which I dropped down from that ledge before, didn't kill me, didn't even do damage to me. And I'd been hit by that dart before and it barely did any damage. But of course, when you die, you have to go back and try to come through again. And that's what was happening there. And there was just so much of it. Just little things, little nitpicky things like that when you add them all together, it becomes just too much. But the barrel roll aspect was the worst, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So this is a game that definitely needs a lot more TLC, some cleaning up, some bug squashing.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think it'll be actually a pretty fun game once it's done. But it was just a little too early to be released for early access at this point.
Yeah,
it was pre-early access.
So would you say this is like an alpha build?
Dude, it was like, I would even say it's like pre-alpha. This is like game tester whenever the levels are released within the company level. Like, you ever see Grandma's Boy, how they have the people that they pay at the company to test levels? That's what it felt like. You're like at that level of early development. And it was too much.
Yeah, this is where they like need to like have people walking into a wall for hours to see if it'll fucking break.
Yeah, exactly. It was rough, but it has potential.
Okay. Matt, do you have any thoughts, questions on this game? Opinions you want to share?
So some thoughts just in terms of development stuff, because one of the first things you mentioned is how poorly it ran, and I know you're not talking about Fallout 76, but my mind just went straight to that, because obviously they've had the recent Wastelanders update, and the game is apparently average to good or whatever, but yeah, in terms of the actual these sort of Souls games and stuff like that, I've tried, I think, all of them. I've tried a good chunk of Sekiro was the one that I got the furthest with, but I just got to this particular boss where I was like, I just can't do this. I can't remember which one it specifically was. It might have been one in the tower for maybe people that played it for a reference. It's when you're interacting with one of the main female characters of the game. And there's something going on there. So just in terms of references to which boss that was. It's also when some of the not flying enemies get introduced, but where some of the enemies that fly across the screen in the particular scenario get introduced. I can't remember which Dark Souls it was. I think it was maybe 3. Didn't get into that at all. Played some of Bloodborne and just couldn't get past like the first piece or whatever. I think it's called Yarnum, isn't it? The first part of that. Couldn't quite get past that. But there's always been something about those games that just has appealed to me. But it's just that difficulty barrier that's been a barrier itself, and I've just never been able to break past that, because I've always heard from multiple people. Brian Altano from IGN's a big fan of those kind of games, and he's always kind of saying about like if you do manage to get over that barrier, that sort of bump of difficulty, you feel so rewarded, but it's the process of actually getting past that I can't really do with some of these. I mean, there were certain bosses, like I said with Sekiro, that I got past and felt very, very rewarded with, but just didn't get as to the end of the game or whatever. So yeah, some people just can't get past sort of the difficulty stuff, and that's the sort of camp that I fall into. But I recognize why people like those sorts of games and that sort of thing, even if everyone kind of gets frustrated with them. It's interesting that you mentioned as well with obviously this game's development cycle, that sounds like it should have been nowhere near public hands right now.
The difficulty barrier on this one, I would say, is not near as high as like say regular Dark Souls, because I did try Dark Souls once and it was an absolute murder fest. It was like I look like if Mike Tyson fought a child. It was that bad. And in this, it wasn't that. Like, it was very intuitive. I will give it that. It was very intuitive, like figuring out how to, like certain patterns of certain bosses. But whenever those glitches would happen and it would mess you over anyways, it was just it got to be overbearingly frustrating. So this one, I would say, is not. And I think that comes with it being like the 2D as opposed to 3-dimensional, having to go around the monsters instead of just back and forth. And so the difficulty barrier, I don't think is as front facing in this as it is in most Souls games, but it was it was still it was tough. It was tough for a 2D side scroller, that's for sure.
Yeah. One thing I kind of want to add in here as well, if the people are interested in those sorts of games, but they want like a lower level to entry, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's sort of got that DNA in there. It's nowhere near as difficult as those games. It's still a good challenge, and I did actually finish that game. My co-host Robert is playing it at the moment, and he's been messaging me about some difficult bosses. There's some difficult bosses in that, but you feel like it's more doable than those other games that I've mentioned, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. But just depends on what you can kind of get past and all that. So of course, it was recently Star Wars Day, so that's obviously a coincidental sort of mention in there as well. But yeah, that's a good one too, because it's fundamentally the same thing in similar ways. You've got like your rest points when you beat certain bosses, and then you've got obviously stormtroopers and that you're fighting. So that's one that I recommend for people that want one that's slightly more approachable, I would say, than some of those games. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Now, just to double check, Sekiro is the one where you play as Mr. Green Elite, right? The one that takes place during like samurai era.
Yeah, that's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I think it's from the same people, if I'm not mistaken. It won, I think, Game of the Year last year. But yeah, it's that one. So
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's from Software.
that's the one. Yeah.
Green. Thoughts, opinions,
Yeah.
questions?
No, it's definitely something that I could see is very frustrating, within like not feeling complete. But I mean, there's not much to add for it.
And it's one of those, if it, like, it's not even necessarily that it wasn't complete, because I knew going in that it was an early access game, but it's like not even like halfway done, I would say, just like with how kind of clippy the animation was and everything.
Yeah, the model design and set design looks actually really nice.
It sets a really good atmosphere, and when you
Yeah.
progress from like one area to the next, it does, it changes up pretty heavily. Like you go from kind of like the temples and stuff like that to the forest, and it's a nice aesthetic change. It kind of keeps a dark tone through the whole thing.
Mhm.
Obviously, so this is similar to most Souls-like games, but yeah, it was just. And I hate to be that negative, because y'all have heard me on here before. I'm usually not very negative about any of the games I play, but it was way too early.
Well, and I don't think you're being negative. I think you're being candid and honest. There's a difference
Yeah.
between being negative, in which you're not offering any constructive or redeeming, feedback
Any explanation of
without any
why I feel
explanation.
that
But
way.
what you're being is candid. I don't think you're being negative or overly nitpicky. You're being candid and honest and constructive.
It's just like, it feels weird because typically, like, I don't have a lot of negative to say about a game that I test out, but this is new to me. I'm just like, it feels weird.
So yeah, something you didn't
Just being a
enjoy.
negative
And,
Nelly.
yeah.
Yeah, because I always try, find redeeming qualities in games. Like I made it known a couple of weeks ago that, World of Horror wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I could definitely see the appeal here, 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 and here. I just can't this time.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Unformed before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Matt, you all good?
Yeah, I've sort of said my piece on the game. So
Cool. So we do have another game that we wanted to talk about here. Matt, you have played Catherine Full Body.
yeah, this is from Atlas, and it was a PS3 exclusive. So this is a PS3 game. I'm playing it on PS4. It got I'm not quite exactly sure if it was a port or a remaster. Sorry. I think it's available on Switch, because I went to look at a walkthrough for one of the or like some videos and stuff on one of the particular challenges, and there was some video about it on Switch, so I think it's probably available on there as well. I don't know, like, is that release date or whatever. But yeah, this is like I said, this is from Atlas, and it's essentially this game where you're playing as this guy called Vincent, and how can I kind of describe this? He's in a relationship with this girl called, well, Catherine, and then there's another girl called Catherine that gets introduced. One spelt with C and one is spelt with K. And then the guy gets that thrown at him, and it's sort of about seeing him navigate what the hell to do about that, because basically this other Catherine comes into his life kind of out of nowhere on this sort of drunken night, because you get drunk at this bar and then it cuts to the next scene, and then she's there with him, and he thinks, okay, crap, I have cheated on my girlfriend, what do I do? And he obviously got drunk and wasn't fully aware of it at the time or whatever. Where the gameplay stuff comes into it, however, is the dreams that he has. He has these sort of nightmare kind of things, and you basically have to start moving these blocks and navigate your way through climbing. It might sound quite simple from what I've just said, but believe me, it's not quite that simple. Yeah, you sort of get once you finish each level, you basically have these other characters that are in there, and these are other people in the real world that are having the same dreams, and are all being put into the same world. The weird thing is, you see all them as sheep. Hence, I think it's meant to be like a meta sort of thing about, like, counting sheep to help you get to sleep, and that sort of thing. You don't see like loads of them. You see different, roughly about 8 sort of characters on the platform or whatever, and you can go and talk to them, and they'll give you different dialogue about their sort of climbing experiences and stuff. One of the characters you can talk to, he hasn't. I don't think he's got a particular name, but he's got this suit on. You can kind of always recognize him from this brown jacket that he's got on, and you go over to him for basically techniques. So, hey, if you move the block this way or that way, you can get through the level better. And then they start to introduce different things like mechanics as to where you can get extra blocks, a mechanic to where you can jump up to blocks. There's a pillow as well that you can get. I can't actually remember what that was for, because that was the first one that was introduced, but I haven't found to get that one very often. I think there was one more one as well, but yeah, those are the main 2 that you sort of see, and essentially you have to move these blocks, left, right, up, down, backwards or forwards, or whatever you can kind of do, and then you have to make your way up climbing, and then as you're climbing upwards, basically, the blocks of levels below you are slowly falling. So obviously you have a particular time to do this, and then they introduce boss fights, which is where certain things from the story. So there's like this zombie bride version of Catherine, obviously, because he starts to freak out about, like, hey, I'm accidentally, kind of sort of accidentally cheating on his girlfriend through these drunk nights or whatever. He doesn't seem to realize he's doing it, kind of thing. It's interesting the way they kind of present that as if he's doing the same mistake over and over again, but he still goes out and gets drunk every night. It's interesting the way they kind of play with that. So yeah, his girlfriend at the time kind of comes out with the idea of, like, hey, we should get married and this sort of stuff. So that's why he sees in his nightmares or whatever a zombie bride version of his girlfriend, and or of his fiance or whatever. And the bosses basically slowly work their way up the level. So not only do you then in those boss fights have the levels below you, the bricks falling, you also get these attacks from the enemies, and they can like drop different stuff on the bricks and all that. And it's a challenge to get through. It really is. And there's certain parts where you get to it, and you're like, wait a minute, where am I supposed to move the blocks? And then sometimes it may be one block that you don't quite see. You move that, and you're like, oh yeah, I can just climb up there. And after like 20 minutes of trying or whatever, you kind of think, why didn't I think to move that brick that was just sitting there the whole time? But it's good. It's a really good challenge. I'm really enjoying the story. But yeah, it's pretty good. I haven't heard anything about like a sequel. Maybe it was like a one-off or something. So again, this was a PS3 game. So yeah, it's been really good so far. It's a Japanese game, by the way, as well, just in case some people didn't know that. So it's got a through the story I've tried to sort of spoiler-free explain. It's that, but in a Japanese style. So you can kind of get a picture of sort of what that's like. But has anybody here sort of heard of the game or played it? It's not one that's particularly talked about nowadays, but it did fairly well at the time, I think.
I
I
have.
tested.
Go ahead, Rev.
Oh, I was just gonna say I tried it out back when it was on PS3. I had it. I never got very far in it, but because I was looking at the trailer and I saw the guy with the sheep horns and the animation style kind of being anime centric, and I was like, okay, yeah, I remember playing this back in the day. I didn't get very far, so I don't remember a whole lot. And judging from the looks of it, it's probably for the best. Otherwise, it would bring up some very sexy memories. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at it, so it was available on PlayStation. So Full Body is the remake enhanced version of Catherine.
Yeah.
So that's on PS4, and then you're right, PS3. It was also on PlayStation Vita, and it is coming to Nintendo Switch. It looks like.
Okay. I haven't heard anything about Xbox or PC, but yeah. So
yeah, it's set for July 7th, 2020 for the Nintendo Switch release.
Okay.
The art style is very, very striking. Striking. It reminds me a lot of. It even says that it's built in the Persona 5 engine. And looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like Persona.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
then the way you describe it, it's like a video game version of, very like 90s, late 2000 or early 2000s esoteric anime like Neon Genesis Evangelion, where it's like drenched in horniness and symbology and like trying to piece it all together.
Did you just say symbology?
Yeah.
I think of Boondock Saints every time I hear that word. Symbology. I think the word you're looking for is symbolism.
Symbolism. Fine, symbolism.
No, it's the quote from the movie. I'm just quoting the movie.
Yeah, it looks like one of those. Yeah, it looks like, it's just one of those things drenched in symbolism and horniness that people can obsess over for hours and days, like they do with Neon Genesis Evangelion.
But 30 seconds at a time, 30 seconds to 3 minutes, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting in the story with Vincent to see, like, okay, he's kind of accidentally got this girl in his life and he can't have like his fiance find out, and just the simple question of like, okay, what the hell are you going to do about that? Because the way I'll just say new Catherine, the way this new Catherine kind of approaches him, he's like, it's one of them relationships where like he wants to get out of it, but he's got no idea how to do that, and he's just so nervous about the whole situation. And like there's a couple of, like, I'll just say really close call kind of scenes. I haven't finished the game yet, so I don't know fully what happens in that, but it's just interesting to see him navigate that. And the interesting thing as well is that the exact bar that he goes to every single night to get drunk, his friends know like everything, and they're always trying to tell him like, hey, you're kind of screwed, you should like try and ditch this girl, but like good luck with that kind of thing. And you basically go to the bar and you check your phone, you get texts from both the Catherines and stuff like that. And there's this other character who's introduced near the start called Ren, and she's got some, I'll just say, interesting stuff going on there with like the piano and how that kind of feeds into things. But yeah, just seeing him navigate this awkward situation is really quite entertaining and interesting, and just how he kind of, because they're very, very different, these two different Catherines. And yeah, when his, the not new Catherine, the other one, the main one, when she's kind of asking them about like, okay, something's really off of you, like you're acting really weird, you're dodging phone calls that you get next to me, you're like really secretive about like your phone and stuff. It's just so interesting to see how Vincent reacts to those scenarios, and like what words are going to come out of his mouth next, and is he just going to like slip up or something. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. I haven't touched it at all. It seems interesting. Green, have you touched it at all? This was
No, I've never tried anything out like that. Like, I've never even tried Persona 5, so
yeah.
I have no use here.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't touched any of the Personas. I've just watched people play them. Yeah, seems interesting. Let's see, how much is it currently on the store? It is $29.99 American. If anyone is interested in trying that out on the PlayStation Store, I'm assuming it'll probably be something very similar for the Nintendo Switch.
Probably, yeah. But that was the positive part that I wanted to talk about. So, because I'm enjoying the game a lot. I'm actually on I think the final level, because the level that I finished just before I came on the podcast, the character was told this is the second to last level. So I can't imagine what building I'm gonna have to do with the bricks in the final part, given the challenges I've already faced. So that should be fun tomorrow. So yeah,
Excellent.
it's just when you get to certain levels where there's like one wall of bricks, but there's like three, and you're like, okay, how am I supposed to build this out of like three rows, sorry, or so three upwards three of bricks or of yeah blocks and that, and it's sort of like, okay, you've got very very little to work with in certain areas, but you get there eventually. So yeah, I'll see what the final level's got to hold for me tomorrow. So
Excellent. We had some other topics that we wanted to talk about here quick. Unless we had anything else on Catherine Full Body.
no, that was it from me.
Yep.
So
So we did get a new trailer for the Assassin's Creed series.
mm-hmm.
What do
Yeah.
you? I don't think we've
Yeah.
talked about it yet. What do you guys? How are you guys feeling about that? Matt, we'll start with you.
With the Assassin's Creed game, obviously I've actually lost track of how many there is. It must be at least 10 at this point. It's the thing to me. Where do I start with this? It's just the thing about like, okay, it used to all be about Desmond, and I'll just say it isn't anymore. They've moved on basically from his story, and I was always disappointed in that decision. And I continued with the series, and then Origins and Odyssey came out, and they decided to go with still the same core of Assassin's Creed, but go with like a new kind of system, and they sort of changed the game up and that. And I really really like what they did with Origins, and they had Bayek in that, and for the modern day stuff, which was where Desmond was doing his story, and that they basically had I think it was Layla or something, and she kind of took over from that. And so I'm glad they still did that, but I'm just always disappointed that they ditched what they decided to do with Desmond in the first couple of games, because he was the one that was tied in with his own ancestors and all that. So then finished Origins, really really enjoyed it and that, and then Odyssey came out, and that's now the Odyssey is the only game in the entire series apart from the whatever the PS Vita version was called, the PS Vita game. I can't remember what that was. Liberations that might have been, but all the console released ones, I've finished all them, enjoyed most of them. Some have had their problems and stuff. Obviously, Unity with the famous face glitches and that was a thing that happened in that. But I was playing Odyssey in that, and it really, really just didn't feel like Assassin's Creed. And there was loads and loads of grinding involved, and I just sort of got to a point. I was like, okay, I can't do this grind. And then just kind of looked up the last sort of part of the game on YouTube and that, and kind of went from there. And then it was sort of when it hit me with Odyssey. I was like, okay, what are they doing with this series now? Like they've really kind of changed what they've been doing with the main story and stuff, and the settings that they've used have been interesting, but I didn't like where they were going with the whole grindy sort of part of the game, because Assassin's Creed never used to be like that. And then that sort of basically put a bad taste in my mouth for Assassin's Creed. And then we get this trailer, of course, for Valhalla, the new Vikings one. I didn't anticipate like anything from this trailer. I just thought like, okay, we'll see what they got to hold for this one. I watched this trailer on I think it was last week on Thursday when it was revealed, and I just didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like kind of was like, okay, cool, you got Vikings in here, see how that plays out. I didn't kind of feel like, okay, how much of a grind will this one sort of be? Because I just don't want that part of Assassin's Creed with the grinding stuff, because it never used to be like that. And I watched the trailer and I was like, okay, what you're doing here is kind of cool, but like, is this going to be good gameplay wise? And is it going to be the same grind? And is that going to make me fall off of this one? And I just kind of just didn't feel anything at all from it. And it was weird as well, because with I'll say like the most recent sort of 5 years of Assassin's Creed, everyone's been sort of had the bad taste in their mouth with the game. I was like, they weren't happy with where Assassin's Creed was going, but I was. And now the tables are sort of turned, because when I looked online on Thursday, everyone was like, "Oh my god, we got Vikings, and this looks great, and the cinematic trailer looks great," and I was just completely on the other end of it. And yeah, I guess it was just weird to feel sort of the tables get turned there. Um, but I don't know. I'll give this one a shot. We don't know what the actual gameplay looks like yet, or how grindy it will sort of be. One really, really major thing they did with Odyssey and Origins, which is where the main changes came in, you couldn't do one-hit assassinations anymore. And if you're assassin and you stab someone in the neck, that shouldn't just be a bit of damage. That should be a fatal blow or whatever. And I remember going through a lot of Odyssey, and I'd be like level 7 or something, and an enemy would be like level 8 or whatever, and I'd pull off like an assassination thing on them, and it would just damage them, and then they'd just start firing back, and I was like, well, you've kind of it took the joy out of that. Okay, you've managed to sneak close enough to the enemy to either jump on him and assassinate him, or take him out, hide in the bushes and take him out there, and it had completely taken that out of the game. Like, you could, if you were high enough level and everything, you could do one-hit kills. But I just fair enough if you're doing combat, like you've engaged them in combat, you're hitting them a few times. I understand if there's like damage stuff there, but just like, if you're an assassin and you use the hidden blade and hit someone in the neck or the throat or whatever, it should be a one-hit kill, and it just wasn't. So that was one of the other changes that they'd made that I just wasn't happy with. So just overall, I'm not sure where Ubisoft is really going with Assassin's Creed, and we'll see with this one. Like, we'll see what the gameplay looks like and how kind of grindy it's going to be. But overall, with the trailer, I just ended up not feeling anything. So
yeah. Green, you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed series, right?
No,
Or have been?
No, I've never.
Yeah, he
Never
says
really
as he's
cared
trying to
for
show off his
Never
Assassin's
really
Creed
cared for
tattoo.
them. Never. No. Honestly, I haven't played Assassin's Creed since I haven't played Origins or Odyssey. I think those are the only two that I haven't played. I kind of had like a falling out. The trailer, I don't think for cinematic wise, I don't think it was bad. It'll definitely be interesting to see once the actual gameplay comes out. If the game's actually going to be, good looking. I do plan on picking up Origins and Odyssey soon. I'm just gonna find time to do it. The only thing that I really felt when I saw the trailer though is I just want a samurai one.
Yeah.
I've already planned it out too. Like, I want it. Like, I could write this. Ubisoft, hit me up. Email me. You start as a samurai. Your lord betrays you. You join the Brotherhood of Assassins. You find out that your lord is a Templar. And then the end boss fight, you find out that your mentor is actually the main Templar bad guy. It would sell millions. I'm waiting for that.
That would do well, I think.
And with so many of the Assassin's Creed characters already basically being ninjas.
No, that's what I'm saying too. Like, I was talking about this with a few friends of mine. You can start out as a samurai, and once you get betrayed by your lord, you become a Ronin, and then eventually evolve into a ninja as it progresses to take down your lord and the other samurais that are still under him. It would be fantastic. I'm already going to patent this idea.
Quick, write it down, mail it to yourself. You'll be golden.
Yeah, we will. I mean, we're doing this right now, live. Idea's already down. It's
I lost
digitized.
out on a very mediocre amount of money, not copywriting the idea for the first Purge. I come up with that like 2 years before that movie came out, and and I emailed whoever it was, like whatever studio it was. I was like, "Hey, how about this idea for the first Purge? I should trademark that or something first."
Yeah.
I lost out on like $7 for that.
$7 whole dollar.
I think that movie made like $16. I would have been entitled to $7.
So
the sequel did more.
Yeah. Padre, what are you thinking of this new Assassin's Creed trailer?
So this is like heartbreaking to say out loud for the first time, just because of how much I love Viking culture. but it seems like they're like every game that can jump on the Viking bandwagon is doing it now. Like, because God of War, God of War was all Greek mythology, and then it turned Viking. The show, and I think the show Vikings kind of sparked the whole interest in it, like the mainstream interest that all of a sudden hit out of nowhere. I just want them to back off the mythology aspect of it, because it felt like Odyssey had way too much mythology. Because one of the appeals to me for Assassin's Creed for the longest time was the fact that it was a lot more history based. It was like everything was fairly historical, but mythology is mythology. And so for them to take it and go the mythology route, that was what kind of killed it for me. And I'm hoping they kind of leave that off a little bit, because if they keep doing the mythology thing with the Vikings, then it's just going to turn into God of War again, because that's all God of War was.
If you want to get technical, though, they they've actually believed in that, like during the Greek period and the Viking periods.
Yeah, they believed in
I
it, but it
mean,
wasn't real.
technically at that time, who knows where that actually came from?
But that's the thing, though. That's where they draw the line between history and mythology. And that was my appeal for Assassin's Creed, was like the historical context of everything as opposed to a mythological one. I think what really got everybody going was just Thor, the superhero in general.
Yeah, 100%.
And now it's like everybody's because Greek mythology's been beaten to death everywhere. I mean, you learn about it early on in school, and then you turn around and now it's like everywhere you turn there's a bunch of it. So it's like I just want them to kind of, like, even if they include like the mythology, as long as there's not like physical beings there, I don't know, it's just I for one, now I'm not saying it's going to make the game bad or not, it's just it would affect my opinion on whether or not I enjoyed it. I just don't want them to go that heavy mythological route.
Yeah.
Another thing that they should be leery about is, like, I just found this out not too long ago, that a lot of the Viking mythology is actually being used for like white supremacy groups and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something that you gotta watch, because like people will take that and spin, just full on take it and spin.
Yeah, it's a little known fact that Nazis really weren't Christian. Like they despised Catholics. And Nazis really wanted to like go back into like Germanic beliefs and systems and stuff like that, including the religion. And a lot of the Germanic tribes shared a lot of stuff with the Norse tribes in terms of mythology and stuff like that. So a lot of it gets taken and it's borrowed, or they're like similar deities or similar ideas. And so a lot of it for neo-Nazi cultures do go back and like take Norse mythology stuff. Current heathenism, I think, is what people call it. I have a family member who practices heathenism.
There's a specific off branch of it that is directly associated with white supremacy, and I don't want to. I think I know which offshoot it was, but I don't want to say it and then be wrong. So,
Yeah.
But there are a lot of pagans in the world today that do still kind of honor the ancestors and do all that without having any direct hatred towards anybody else.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just like anything. You're always going to get that in any aspect of life. You're going to have that one group that's
Yeah.
Imagine hating people in 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
Bro, I hate so many people in 2020, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah, I hate people non-prejudicially.
Yes, it's everything is equally hateful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially crowds. I don't like crowds. Like, crowds just irk me.
We don't have to worry about that at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's why I am living the best life.
It's like you do have to worry about it here, though. It's like you go to the store and they're like, yeah, maintain 6 feet, and everybody's huddled together. A little brief deal about that. We took our kids to a safari thing, and the gift shop was only allowing 10 people in at a time. But right outside, everybody was huddled at the door. I'm like, this defeats the purpose. Like,
yeah.
So
cough in my mouth, Dad.
Just real quick, this little safari thing, did it happen to be in Wynnewood?
17 miles from Wynnewood. It was actually in it was very close, and we contemplated going because it was like the way home we actually kind of headed that direction before turning. And I looked at my wife, I was like, should we take him? She's like, I don't want to go back to that place because my wife used to feed his animals back when Joe Exotic ran it.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Rev lives in Oklahoma. Tiger King takes place in Oklahoma. That was the joke there. And Rev does have memories that you guys can watch his stream or follow him on Twitter to hear about. We did have one more thing that we wanted to talk about, and then we'll go to break. Some potential rumors for Xbox. Matt, I'll let you take it away again.
Yeah, Microsoft is doing this. They've kind of called it a gameplay reveal event on Thursday. It will be at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is 4 p.m. for me in the UK. I think that will be 10 a.m. for you guys, and then it will be 11 a.m. for Eastern time, just to kind of check some of the time zones that I know and stuff. Yeah, people have begun kind of speculating already, like, okay, what will they show? They haven't really given any hints and stuff, and it's been funny the last couple of years, specifically with Warner Brothers games, because there's been 3 games that have always cropped up. Sorry, which is what is Rocksteady doing next? What is this Batman game? And what was that leaked Harry Potter game? And yet again, every single time one of these events come up, it's like, oh, we're going to get the reveal of Harry Potter and Rocksteady and Batman, and I'm like, calm down. You know, when Warner Brothers is ready to talk about those things, they will do. Of course, those are third-party games, so they could possibly pop up here, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I suspect we'll maybe get. Again, this is me just predicting. I don't know anything or whatever. I can only guess as to what they've kind of shown and what they could show. I think it's probably about time they show some kind of gameplay for Halo Infinite. Maybe some gameplay, because they've called this a gameplay event and not necessarily trailers. Not saying they couldn't show trailers, but gameplay has been one of the things that they've kind of labeled for this. And given that, of course, Halo Infinite is going to be a big tentpole game for the Series X, even though it will be on Xbox One as well because of the thing that they've got going on at the moment. I suspect we'll possibly see the first gameplay of that, possibly Hellblade 2 as well. I think going into the Series X, whenever it launches, whether it's the end of this year or some point after that, we don't fully know yet. I think Hellblade 2 and Halo Infinite are going to be the big 2 kind of games, because it's too soon for a proper Gears of War game, because Gears of War 5 was only last year, so it's going to be at least a couple of years for Gears of War 6. They've only just released Gears Tactics on, for some reason, PC first, which is weird when you think about that being an Xbox branded game, but possible that we'll see maybe some gameplay for that on the Series X. For third party stuff, I really don't know. Everyone's being pretty quiet at the moment. You've got things like Watch Dogs 2. Sorry, not Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs Legion, sorry, the third game in the series, which is coming up possibly soon. As possibly we could see maybe something from that. We obviously won't see any PlayStation games because this is an Xbox event, so we won't see anything from like Horizon 2 or whatever that's going to be called. That will be left up to Sony. I suspect that they'll say something after this event is finished. But I think there's mainly some gameplay for possibly some of their bigger games. They recently showed off some of Grounded, which I think is from Rare. I don't know if I'm remembering that 100% correctly, but they recently showed off a bit of that at the Inside Xbox event that they did a couple of weeks ago, which was just before Sony talked about DualSense, the new PS5 controller. But I'm mainly thinking that they'll show Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory, who of course they recently purchased. I believe that was E3 last year that they announced that. And I'd be I don't know for definite if it'll be Hellblade 2, but I'll be surprised if they make as big a deal they has with this and they don't show Halo Infinite. I'm just really thinking that they'll show that there. So yeah, those are some of the possibilities. Who knows? Maybe we could see something from the Warner Brothers games, but don't go into this thinking we're going to see something from all 3. People that get excited and stuff have been anticipating those for a while. But yeah, that's sort of roughly my thoughts on some of the third-party games they could maybe show off in that. So what does everybody else think that they might show?
Rev, you're the Xbox person here between the three of us.
I used to be. Shoot. Now, I will say, I have really no idea what to expect out of it. I will say though, I am 100% in agreement that it is super weird that Gears Tactics is coming to PC first. I heard
Yeah,
that
I'm looking
correctly,
forward
right?
to that as well. And I was going to play that on Xbox, but well, it's not on it yet. So
Yeah, well, I think we actually talked about it either last week or the week before. The fact that one of their selling points is no microtransactions. That kind of
yeah,
puts it on my
that's
radar as well. Like
mm,
that's actually kind of a big deal for me. Um, Aside from that, yeah, I mean, I think if I had to put a guess on it, they're going to try to heavily feature Hellblade 2, just because it felt like it was kind of heavily featured in the trailer for the Xbox Series X.
yeah.
Um,
That
and I
was one
mean,
of
and
the things.
it's probably going to be a great game. I mean, let's face facts. The first one was really good, so I
I love the
would not
first
be
one. Yeah,
surprised.
yeah.
It was highly regarded as one of the most accurate depictions of was it paranoid schizophrenia, I believe,
Mm.
in video games, like because they brought in experts and people that actually deal with it, and so I think it's going to be kind of the next one that sets it apart. But um, I think I don't know. I wouldn't put it past it, at least getting to hear something about maybe Horizon, or is it Horizon Zero Dawn 2 they're getting ready to release?
No,
I know
that's
that
from
Yeah, but that's a
PlayStation. So
Sony. That's a
yeah,
Sony's
Sony
that
not
won't be.
involved in
exclusive.
That
this
won't
at
be. Yeah.
all.
Mm.
No, this
Well,
is just
it's
Microsoft.
supposed to it's supposed to be a Sony exclusive. We'll see after what happened with the first Horizon, but uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else aside from Halo Infinite that they could really put forth. Maybe the Cuphead DLC. I mean, I've been waiting on that forever. That was supposed to be a Microsoft thing,
Yeah.
but that would be nice. But aside from that, I'm not. I don't. Everything just feels kind of hush hush lately, and I think a lot of it has to do with everything being kind of
Slowed down and that.
wild.
Yeah.
Everything.
What about third party stuff? What do you maybe think? I mean, it'll be interesting if, because obviously we just got last week the trailer reveal for Assassin's Creed. I wonder
Mhm.
if they've maybe tied that in deliberately, so that literally the week after, like exactly the week after, they show some gameplay. Maybe it's possibly too soon, but I just think that's interesting timing for that. Plus some of the marketing around Assassin's Creed has been a bit Xbox heavy. Obviously, it will be on PlayStation and PC and that, but it sort of
Mhm.
had the Xbox marketing tied in. So I just think timing wise, you do that Photoshop thing that they did on Wednesday for like 8 hours or whatever it was, which was crazy. You do the trailer on Thursday, and then maybe exactly a week later you show some gameplay. I think that would possibly tie in interestingly.
Yeah, I mean it would be it'd be perfect because it's like in everybody's mind right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so people, instead of waiting until people lose interest to try to pique their interest again, just ride that hype train and keep it going.
Hmm.
Maybe we
What
can get
about
a little
Watch
bit more
Dogs?
details.
What about Watch Dogs Legion? Seems that's also Ubisoft as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I never played any of the Watchdog franchise, so I don't really I don't know much about it. I don't know where the story goes in it. I don't know anything about it. What about Green? Do you know anything on that?
I played the first one like a really long time ago, and it wasn't very good. But I,
no,
I heard Watch Dogs 2 was like definitely better.
it
But
was
I never.
way better. The second
Yeah,
one was much better.
Yeah,
yeah, I
Watch
Um,
never didn't.
Dogs, the first one got panned um, by critics really hard, and then um, they took like a less self serious approach for the second one. And they also didn't
mhm.
lie in their marketing because for those who can't remember back that far, Watch Dogs 1, the gameplay demo um, was like really stunning, very dynamic lighting, and all the graphics and stuff like that. And then the product that people got was significantly worse. But yeah, the Watch Dogs 2 got a lot better. But Legion, yeah, I'm interested in Legion just for the because you can like recruit people to your team, and it can be like old folks. So I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, let me just recruit like an old lady to go bust a cap in somebody's ass. I am all for that.
Yeah, yeah. They're taking an interesting approach with that because you can kind of play as like anybody or whatever, or
Hmm.
anybody that joins your group and stuff like that. But yeah, tying in with last week's Assassin's Creed thing, tying that into Ubisoft, which ties into Watch Dogs Legion again. I'm just kind of guessing and predicting, but we shall see. So, but I'm excited for that. Whenever like either a Nintendo, a Ubisoft, whenever a company comes out with like, hey, we have an event to show you, not just like, hey, here's a trailer for something. Whenever they say like, hey, we have a date and an event for something, it's usually a reason to get excited. So, yeah, it's just interesting that they haven't labeled this as just, hey, this is an event. They said like, hey, this is gameplay specific. So, because I think some of the games that are probably in development for next gen, it's probably about time that we see some gameplay for some of them. Because even though, like Ren said earlier, that with things being slowed down and kind of stopped for development, there is certain games that have, there's certain games that are in that stage that you can't really probably show too much of. But there's certain games that have probably been in development for a lot longer than that, and they're probably ready to show. Possibly those Warner Brothers games that have been in development for like 5 years, because Batman Arkham Knight, which was the last one, was 2015, I think, and it's 2020. So like, I think it's about time we do see that game. I think, because they teased that in like September or something, and then just went really really quiet again. But should be exciting nonetheless. So.
I think I just figured something out that they'll probably end up. I don't know if anybody said this already, but Rainbow Six Quarantine.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it'd be a bad PR move to kind of display that now, but it's supposed to be released this year. That and Gods and Monsters, but Tom Clancy games. It kind of feels like with them doing what they've done with the Division 2, with making it super cheap and kind of getting everybody back into it and everything, that it would be kind of setting up for the Rainbow Six Quarantine announcements to start dropping. Because it's dropping on PS5 and Xbox Series X, so I mean, it would be a good title to do.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've seen like some of the bigger Ubisoft titles, so possibly some from them, we can hope.
Yeah. Looking at the time here, do you guys mind if we take a quick break and then we move on to some other news?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
All right, and we're back. Thank you guys for letting us take a quick break. So we have some news topics here that we can get to. The first one being there are some little updates to the Epic Games Store. The first one that I think really does affect how people at least decide how they're going to spend their money. And I will say this is something that I know annoys some of our listeners, because we are the three co-hosts here, or the three hosts here, are American. We don't talk about, we discuss everything in terms of American currency and how Americans have to spend their money. We don't mention Canada or the UK or Australia or whatever else. Apparently Epic Games had the same issue because they didn't have regional pricing for Australia, Canada, Denmark, Norway, or Sweden, which has now changed. So something that will make people's purchasing decisions a little bit easier, if they didn't want to have to like spend time figuring out how to convert their currency. It's which I imagine is a pain in the ass. Matt, for someone, obviously you live in the UK, how big of a pain in the ass is it to have to like try to figure out currency conversions and stuff like that if a website doesn't sell something based in pounds to you?
It can be awkward sometimes. It's not something I've particularly come across too much. I've never had to, like, in terms of like changing money and stuff, had to do exchange rates or whatever. But like, maybe for the price of a game or something, I've looked that up a couple of times because it does change every now and again. But yeah, it's usually not too much trouble. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's not a huge news story, but it's still a nice story, especially for anyone who was looking forward or was hoping that would change. The other story that's coming to Epic Games is for a short time, Epic Games will be requiring customers to enable two-factor authentication until May 21st to redeem any free games that are on offer. So the free games that we mention at the top of at the beginning of every month, which we will be doing deals of the month here later in the show. So those kind of games, you'll need to authorize or do your two-factor authentication in order to redeem those games in an attempt to get people to protect and secure their accounts a little bit better. I like this initiative. I agree with this. I think this is a good way about doing it, especially because we have seen some pretty high-profile leaks and data breaches from companies like Nintendo as of late. So yeah, Valve, yeah. What do you guys think about that? You guys have any thoughts, opinions on either of those two?
Not really. Pretty straightforward, just little stories.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey, and doing two-factor authentication will hopefully save you a lot of headaches and time and money should anyone get into your account and steal your credit card information.
Or change your stream title to "I'm a Sexy Little Tiger."
Hey, mind your business.
My next one here, not a terribly huge and not a terribly huge story, but still it's a very heartwarming story, and it just so happens that we have someone here who you don't work with the NHS, but you certainly benefit from the NHS because you are a UK citizen. But devs and publishers are working with the UK's games and interactive entertainment industry to provide NHS workers with free games and subscriptions as a heartfelt thank you to them for their work during the global pandemic we currently find ourselves in. The initiative is titled the Games for Carers Act. Yes, Parliament took that up. No, I'm sorry, initiative. Offers titles on every platform, including PC and mobile. They have about 85,000 games available, and interested care workers can visit the website as a note, because a lot of like gaming PC Gamer and Polygon had the link on their website. It gave me an error. I'm assuming the reason is because based on my IP address, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely not someone who works for the NHS being in Iowa.
Shoot, go on.
So, all the information I do just recommend anyone who is interested, if you are an NHS worker and you're working overtime and you just need something to vent your frustrations out on, check it out. Go to the Games for Carers Initiative website. It's a very nice, heartwarming thing. Matt, have you been fortunate enough to have to stay out of clinics and hospitals?
Yeah, not been anywhere near them for a bit of time and that, which is good. But no, I think this is a really, really good thing to do. Of course, they're probably, I mean, everybody is affected by this. There's nobody who's like immune to it or whatever. But of course, the NHS workers and that, the people that are directly dealing with the people that are sick. Yeah, I really think that it's good to reward those people and good to, like I said, once they do eventually get off work, because I'm assuming that obviously they're working more than they usually do, even though they worked a lot before. But once they do obviously switch shifts and get the time off of work, if they want to go home and relax with the game or whatever, I think it's great to reward those people for free. But yeah, because everybody's going through kind of a tough time at the moment, but can't imagine the stress of dealing with with something like that on a daily basis and for several hours at a time, and just seeing loads of people dying and being sick and things like that, which they do already, but obviously this is another level of that sort of thing, because there's a few hundred people, or I'm not sure the exact numbers on a daily basis, but there is a lot of people still dying, and it's just good to reward those people. So, and we're still, by the way, for those that don't know who are outside the UK and that, on Thursdays at 8, I'm assuming there's a specific reason for that date and time, but I'm not sure why the reason is that. But yeah, we've been doing this sort of clapping for the NHS. Basically, people just kind of stand kind of outside their front door. You don't need to like go out into the street or whatever. You can kind of just sort of stand outside your front door, and the whole street basically does all their clapping and stuff. I'm assuming other countries do similar things. I don't know exactly what they are, but that's just a little kind of nationwide sort of thank you at the same time, and that and that's been really great to kind of do to help. I know that doesn't directly help those people, but it I'm assuming it makes them feel better on some level. But yeah, any help that we can give to those sorts of people is great. So yeah, I think this is a really good thing.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was some sort of initiative or something like that here in the States for our care workers. Rev, Green, have you guys heard anything similar to this happening?
I haven't. Not like game wise. I know there's like a lot of outreach here in at least in my state for like food and stuff like that, but not games.
Rev?
No, yeah, I haven't heard anything like that.
It'd be cool.
Yeah. No, it would be.
We had the Humble Bundle thing.
Yeah.
That's about the best we got.
Well, there's been a lot of the Humble Bundle thing was for like direct relief. But yeah, no, like I said, a heartwarming story. It's very nice to hear stuff like that. Going through my notes here, I think the last thing we have is deals of the month. You guys ready to do deals of the month?
Yep.
Oops.
Absolutely.
All right, so I will start. So these are deals of the month for May 2020, starting with Twitch Prime. There are 7 games, starting with Urban Trial Playground, which I did not write down what kind of game that is. Urban Trial Playground is a stunt racing game released on the Nintendo Switch. It is available on Nintendo Switch, Microsoft Windows, and Linux and Mac OS. So you can pick that up on Twitch Prime. There is The Little Acre, which I apparently spelled that wrong. The Little Acre, which is an adventure game developed by Pewter Game Studios with Charles Cecil and published by Digital Curve. It is a point-and-click adventure game, and it is built in Unity, available on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Android, Microsoft Windows, Linux, macOS, and Macintosh operating systems. Followed by the Avicii Invector, which it is, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, the late EDM artist, Avicii.
Yes. Yep.
And this is in association with Avicii. It's a single player music video game developed by Hello There Games, and was it is also available on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Microsoft Windows. Then OSM is the next game. That is not it. Let's see. It's a online soccer manager. Is that right? That doesn't seem right.
What's the game called, sorry? What did you say?
OSM, Online Soccer Manager?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Let me double check here real quick. I think that's probably fairly self-explanatory at that point.
Yeah, at least they call it the correct name.
Can I please get like an in-depth description about what you do in this game?
It's actually old school musical is what it is the game that they're offering.
Boy, that is completely different.
That is very different.
Very different. Yeah.
And then Pankapu is available as well, and Fractured Minds is available as well. I saw only one game on Epic that's available right now. It's called Death Coming. And then we actually were told that there are some decent deals with getting like the Origin Premium service, the EA Origin Premium service. Some of the games that you can
Shout out.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Shout out to Don't Play Fair K9.
Yes,
Big
shout out
shout
to
out.
fan of the show, Don Lee, as we call him. So a couple of the games I noticed that you can get for free, and this is by no means an extensive list. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Titanfall 2, Battlefield, Sea of Solitude, and Unravel 2 are some of the games that are available there with the EA Origin premium service. That's what I got for like the PC stuff. I checked GOG, nothing really changed, nothing really awesome on Humble Bundle right now. Yeah, that's about it. Padre, Xbox.
So Xbox actually currently has so they don't have too much in line of their games with gold, which I believe talked about a couple weeks ago. I just kind of mentioned them because they were just like never really heard of them games. But the newly released Streets of Rage 4 actually dropped on Game Pass on April 30th. And a lot of people, especially retro fans, are really hyped about Streets of Rage 4. And also Red Dead Redemption 2 is now included on Xbox Game Pass, which is really interesting because I've been wanting to try that game, just never wanted to shell out the $50 to $60 for it. There are a lot of deals. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
There are some good ones that are some good Xbox games being sold elsewhere. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is now only $10 on Amazon, and these are for physical copies of them. Mortal Kombat 11 is only $24, and of course, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, if you want a physical copy, is $37, also at Amazon. So that's really all Xbox has going right now. I would assume that you're going to see some stuff coming out after the conference or the little thing they do, because if they announce some decent games, they might drop, especially like sequels, they might drop some deals on the originals. But aside from that, I did want to go ahead and mention Amnesia: The Dark Descent is now free on the Epic Store. So if you want to get scared, that's the way to go about it.
Another, you mentioned Amazon. There was a digital download of Battlefield 4 for $2.95 or something like that as well. Super cheap for Battlefield 4, just the standard edition. And I think the premium was
We're kind of losing you there. You're coming in and out.
Oh. No.
Is it my side or is it something else?
It might be me. It might be me.
I can
you hear me now?
just fine.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, a Battlefield 4 standard edition on Amazon I found for $2.95, and then the premium for $19.99, which usually is still running $49.99 because it's such a fucking good game, Danny. It's a great game.
he was like, so am I
Wait.
buying this for you? I'm like, if you want, it's your money.
And I did. I wholeheartedly, I'm like, should I get you the premium? But then I thought, like, he's one of those basic people that like Insurgency more than anything on the planet. So I'm like, I might as well just get him the standard in case he's like, nah, Insurgency's better. Insurgency's better.
Also, just brief interjection when you were talking about Origins thing with Sea of Solitude being on that one. That is actually a very fantastic game. Highly, highly recommend if you get in on that Origin deal.
Yeah. Did we get all the way through what's coming up to Game Pass? Okay. PS4 or PS Now, whatever the PlayStation services are. Anything good on PlayStation, Green? Oh. We gonna make it through this? You guys are all frozen for me. Check 1 2. It is.
Yeah.
We there?
Everything just went like a little. Yeah. I think everything's good now on my end, anyways.
Okay.
Test.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on ahead.
All right, cool. All right, so PlayStation Plus members have got 2 new games for the month of May. In my opinion, they're not like super great picks. Some people will find these fantastic, some people will not. I mean, if you're more of an action-packed person, then this is probably not your selection, but I mean, to each their own. The first one's Farming Simulator 19. That one, of course, is pretty straightforward. It is a farming simulator. The specs are. Do you want me to go over the specs, Danny, for those, or do you want me to pass that?
It's fine. It's gonna be on. It's on
Yeah.
on PS4, so.
Yeah, a brick can run it. If you have a potato, you can run it. Yeah, it's PlayStation anyways, so that doesn't matter anyways. And then the second one is Cityscapes. Or no, City Skylines. That is a mouthful. And that one is just like a building, a town, city, get people in it. Not my taste. I mean, if I would prefer like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but those are available for free if you want them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not a great deals of the month this month. We might have to come back and see what else Epic brings, if Epic, changes things halfway through the month, or if anything else comes in. Of course, always keep an eye on the show and for all your deals.
You know what happened?
What's that?
Justin Timberlake didn't sing it hard enough in April that it was going to be May. I fucked it up. Corny joke activated. Yeah.
Yeah, corny didn't quite cut it.
Yeah.
And that's all the time we have, folks.
Yeah, so Matt, thank you for joining us on the show. Why don't you tell the kind folks out there what you do and where people can find you?
Yeah, so I run entertainmenttalk.org. We're just coming out of a bit of a busy period covering 3 big shows because they all decided to come back at the same time. But yeah, we do podcasts on TV, games, and some films at the moment because obviously the cinemas aren't open. But I did review Hunt the other day, so you can check that out as well. But yeah, we've still got some big stuff that we're doing, but that's on entertainmenttalk.org. So if you want coverage of TV shows, video games, and films, you can head over there.
Excellent. And on Twitter at eTalkUK. So be sure to follow him there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Mr. Green Elite, what's coming up on your channel?
Well, I'm definitely gonna be playing some Battlefield 4 with you. I'm gonna drag you down with me. And then Apex is I'm getting geared up for the Apex season 5 to drop, and that's actually gonna be next week. So keep an eye out for that. But I'm gonna be playing some Apex in preparation for that. I'm pretty hyped. It'll be introducing a new character next week as well, but I'll talk about that next week. Yeah, you can catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mr. Green Elite. You can find me on my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Excellent. Rev, what's coming up on your channel?
Well, tomorrow I'm actually going to be running the first stream on the Anime for Humanity channel for the month of May because we're doing a deal called Anna May. But we're playing games and stuff like that. I kind of focus on mental illness and things like that. I'll be starting really early and kind of doing a marathon. I'm going to be actually playing Night in the Woods because it has a pretty in-depth storyline. But aside from that, on my channel Thursday, I'm going to start playing a horror game called Someday You'll Be There. It's supposed to be a psychological horror that takes place in the woods. I tried to convince Mr. Green Elite to play it. He said, and I quote, "Fuck you." Then
Go
Saturday.
fuck yourself.
Now, Saturday's the big one, though. Me and a couple of my buddies are going to be, we have this little goofy group of chubby, bearded former emo kids known as Our Beardiful Bromance. And we're actually going to be running a charity event for Direct Relief in their COVID-19 response on Saturday. We're going to be giving away, we have like 90 some odd game keys to give away, and we got some pretty funny incentives and stuff like that. So you can catch me on my channel at twitch.tv/RevSpin. And then you can find me on literally any social media platform under RevSpin TV.
Excellent.
I actually do have an OnlyFans, by the way. I really do.
Okay. You guys are throwing me curveballs tonight.
I'm subscribed, so it is true.
So, coming up on my channel, not a whole heck of a lot. On YouTube, I put out a new video, just like a little highlight thing for my Fallout Fridays series. On Fridays, I started playing Fallout New Vegas. That was really, really fun last Friday, so I'm looking forward to continue doing that, playing as Danny the Dick. Some other things that are coming up, we'll be playing Battlefield tomorrow with Green Elite, since he's suckered me into it, and then probably a lot of Apex, and I imagine some other things will probably come up. I might dip back into Insurgency for a little bit just to see what's going on there, if anything. So, other than that, guys, anything else that we need to talk about? Anything else that we need to plug? We good?
No.
I'll plug you.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. So that'll wrap us up for this week. We sincerely appreciate all of you who have joined us live, and anyone who is watching on YouTube or listening on their own time. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to spend it with us. It really does mean a lot to us, and we hope you do get some value out of the show. If If you guys missed the show, miss any part of the show for any reason, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you guys want to help support the show, there's a few ways you guys can do that are all easy and free. One way is if you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe, ring that bell, and also hit like on the video. If you're on podcasts, drop us a follow, a rating, a review, or subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. And the absolute god tier way of helping us out as a show is by telling your friends. Other than that, we appreciate all of you, and we hope you guys have a healthy, happy rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday. Bye!
Give it.